It's fantastic to have you all here tonight to talk about what is fast becoming one of my new favorite places. I mean, I first went to Cambodia a long time ago, but my couple of trips last year really, it's just turned it into one of my most favorite places in all of Asia. So hopefully, if you haven't got a chance to go yet, that you will be able to have a chance this year or in the future, because I think you'll really love it. So, while we get sorted, perhaps if you're just happy to pop in the chat where you're tuning in from tonight. I'm in Geelong. I'm at home tonight. And then someone, I'm not sure who it is, but that's all right. iPhone. We'll just call you iPhone. That is perfectly fine. So, has anyone here been to Cambodia before? I know, Sue, you have because you were on the trip last year in November, the Pip and Co travel trip to Cambodia, which was a fantastic exploration of the whole country, really. Went to three of the major destinations. Tracy's in Perth. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
It's great to have you here, even though you managed all the time difference, so that's great.
Serious cash because in this round,
Now, I can just hear someone's telly in the background, so maybe if you just want to hit mute, and then you can still hear me, but then the telly will be on light in the background. So we'll just do that. That's perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, oh, yep. Traveled to Cambodia, Linda says, a few years ago. It was great. Loved it. Yeah. I think that's the general consensus for people that I have spoken to, is that it's just a real highlight for them in Asia. So most of you are pretty familiar with me and what I am doing with Pip and Co Travel. But just really briefly, I started this travel company the year before last with an aim to provide a really great travel experience for women in a meaningful, responsible way, particularly to Asia and particularly to Southeast Asia, which is the place I love to travel, place I've lived before, place I love to explore, languages that I've learnt as well. So that is a little bit about the company. So now I'm doing women's trips, so small group trips up to a maximum of 12 per trip. It's really nice when the group is, about 7, 8, or 9 people. I think that's a really lovely number. It keeps it small and flexible, and we're able to, really move about as a great little group, which is so much fun. And also doing tailor-made custom trips as well. So for families or for couples, or for different types of groups who might want to have a special trip organized for them. So at the moment, trips that I'm doing are to Vietnam, to Cambodia, to Laos, and to Malaysia. So this year, including a couple of the custom trips, I'll have 7 trips going off, which is super exciting. So tonight, Cambodia. I think a couple of people have just joined. It's really nice to see you, Sophie. Hi, Mars. So just pop in the chat where you're tuning in from, and if you've ever visited Cambodia before, a couple people here have, and yeah, have said that they love it. So I will jump in and I'm going to share my screen and just show you a little map of where Cambodia is and where the trip that we are going to do actually starts from. So let's see if this works. Hello from Melbourne. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen here. So it's just a little pop-up of Google Maps. And you can see Cambodia there in the center. It's kind of like quite a small, round country surrounded by some big neighbors. So Thailand and Vietnam on the east and the west, and then Laos to the north as well. So there are no direct flights from Australia to Phnom Penh, the capital, or to any city in Cambodia. So you do need to transit through another city in Asia. So Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, is a really popular transit city, and so is Bangkok. but I'll go through flights a little bit later. So I'm just going to zoom in so you can see Cambodia a little bit more up close. There's the capital, Phnom Penh. It sits on the Mekong River. There's Saigon, you can see just to the southeast of Phnom Penh. And if I zoom in again, we should be able to see Battambang, which is the second destination and the second city that we're going to go on this trip. So it's up here, all up in the west, quite close to the border with Thailand. And then up into the north, just a little bit up northeast is Siem Reap. So that is, you'll be familiar with Siem Reap, where all the amazing temple complexes, Angkor Wat in particular, are located. And it's a really beautiful, beautiful place to hang out and spend time. Actually, on this map, while we're looking, you can see this huge area that's marked out where it's got Tonle Sap. And that is the largest freshwater lake in all of Southeast Asia. And you can see just the scale of it when you look at it from Google Maps. And we get to go boating on that lake and see the floating villages. And that's a real highlight, actually. Well, it was for me when I got to do it last year. And I think it was for a lot of the people on the trip last year. So something to really, really look forward to. So if you have any questions as we're going along, just you can come off mute and call them out, or you can type them into the chat. That is perfectly fine, whatever works for you. And I might stop the screen share now and we'll go back and we will keep going with the trip overview. Sue says, I went last year for the second time and it never disappoints. Yeah, so true, right? And there's always something new to discover, I think. And I think that's the sign of a really, fantastic destination where you can go back, for the second, third, fourth time and keep discovering more and more things. So the trip this year is going to be a 9-day, 8-night trip. So I have added on an extra day and night compared to the trip that I ran last year, just to give everyone a little bit more time in Siem Reap because there is so much to do. And we don't want to jam pack the days too much. We want to have a little bit more downtime. So 9 days, 8 nights. We're traveling in October, which is the start of the dry season. So really, this is the start of when the weather is just becoming really more comfortable. So technically, October to December are the coolest months in Cambodia, but it's still pretty warm. So, the average temperature is still sitting in the high 20s. The humidity is lower though, so that does make it a bit more comfortable compared to, say, April, May, June, when it's, the temperatures are high and the humidity is lots higher as well. So it's a really great time to travel, and it's shoulder season just before the high season kicks in. So it's a really nice time to be in Cambodia. Accommodation, really good for 4.5-star boutique accommodation. I've upgraded the hotels in both Battambang and Siem Reap, so they're really, really lovely. And all locally owned, which is really important as well, so that the money that we're putting into the country actually, stays in the country as well. So you probably already have seen this as well, but it's $2,075 per person twin share, and you do have the option to have your own room on this trip as well, and that's an extra $675. So I mentioned before that you need to transit through another city to get to Phnom Penh. So just depending on what airport you are flying out of, there'll be a few different options. You might be able to fly via Bangkok or Singapore or Saigon. So that's flying into Phnom Penh, and then the trip finishes in Siem Reap. So it's an international airport as well. So same thing, Bangkok and Saigon have really great connections, or you might choose to fly on to Luang Prabang in Laos. So I've got another Pip and Co travel trip in Laos starting on October the 14th. So that is the day after the Cambodia trip finishes. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. The trip for Laos will be going live tomorrow, fingers crossed. So you can always find out a bit more info about that one as well. On day one in Phnom Penh, when you're booking your flights, I'm also really happy to talk to you and give you advice about your flights, depending what city you're flying from. Um, you probably want to try and aim to arrive before that 1 to 2 p.m. on the first day, because we will kick off with some activities and going to places on that afternoon, the first afternoon. So you can also book a night before the trip as well if you want to. And a lot of people have been taking me up on that as well, and flying in the day before, having a night before the trip begins to kind of get settled and get over the, jet lag, really. Um, some of the highlights on the trip, and I will just share my screen again because when you go into the website, you'll see hopefully you can see all this. This is the trip page for the Cambodia trip on my website. You can go and have a look at all the photos, and there's a lovely one of Sue from last year, and there's a few of us from exploring Cambodia last year. But there's some great photos there that give you a sense of some of the things you can look forward to do on this trip. But scroll down and you can have a read of all the highlights. And then this link here will take you to the booking system, which will open here on this page. And this is where you can get kind of a really nice snapshot of some of the highlights, and also have a look at the day-by-day itineraries and the inclusions, and also, of course, have a look at the costings. And if you are keen, this is where you can go to save your spot. And it is a $500 deposit to save your spot, and you can pay that by credit card or bank transfer. So that's the little booking system I use, and it's been really great and really easy to use. So you can find that on the website. So some of the highlights, and I think I'm really happy with how the itinerary is looking this year, because like I said at the start, it's a little bit more relaxed as well. So whilst we're still fitting in all the highlights, and a really great selection of social enterprises, NGOs as well, there is a bit of downtime too, which I think is really great. So after you arrive on the first day, we're going to go to the Royal Palace in Phnom Penh in the afternoon. And that's a really great introduction to the history of Cambodia and Phnom Penh. Some great photo opportunities for any photographers who might be joining the trip. And then a really beautiful rooftop welcome dinner that first evening, which is nice. Get a beautiful sense of the city from the roof. The next day is a pretty hard, kind of confronting day. So it's heading out to the Genocide Museum and then out of the city to the killing fields. So the Khmer Rouge, actually, it feels quite recent, because if you're my age or above, you really have lived through that 1980s period when the Khmer Rouge was just wreaking havoc over the entire country. And so that it's a bit hard to take, but we do take it slow, and there's parts you can choose to skip if you want to as well. There is a gorgeous lunch that day back in Phnom Penh in downtown city at an NGO called Lotus Blanc. And they do hospitality training, and it's really nice there. And then the afternoon, this was really fun last year, and I think it will be great this year as well. A cyclo tour through the city, looking at the French Quarter and then going up to Wat Phnom, which is the birthplace of the city. Checking out the city market before another chance to go to a rooftop, this time for a cocktail, before dinner. So I think that's a really great kind of full day in Phnom Penh and gives you a sense of the city. I think Bridget might have joined. Hi, Bridget, how are you? Nice to see you. We're just going through the trip. You can pop in the chat if you would like to, where you're tuning in from tonight, and if you've ever had a chance to visit Cambodia before. On day 3, we're heading out of Phnom Penh, and it's quite a long drive. It's about 5.5 hours, but we do take it, slowly and plan for some coffee stops and toilet stops along the way. But one of the really highlight stops is at the former capital city called Udon. And you have the chance to climb the hill and the stupa at the top of the hill and for beautiful views. And if you choose not to do the climb as well, there is a beautiful sprawling temple complex opposite where the hill, the walk up to the hill goes from. And I know a couple of the travelers from the group last year chose to stay in that temple complex and had a beautiful exploration, had a chance to speak with some of the monks and nuns and take some really amazing photography. So I think things like that is one of the standouts from having a trip like what we're doing, is that there is flexibility amongst the group. And if there's things that you don't want to do because of, fitness or interest, I mean, there's a way to kind of change the itinerary up, where it's possible. It's not always possible, but I think that's, the feedback that I've got is that's something that people really value. And they know that that can't always happen on bigger groups as well. So it's been really nice to be able to cater for people's different interest levels, different fitness levels, things like that. I think Sue just popped a comment. Yes, that complex was magnificent. Yeah, I know. You and Gaynor really, really loved that time there. The rest of us got a chance to look around as well because we all went went to use the bathroom, but then we went off climbing. But yeah, that was really cool. Battambang is a lot more relaxed and low key than Phnom Penh, so it's really nice to see a different type of city in Cambodia. Lots of French architecture around. It's really got a kind of developing foodie and arts kind of scene as well. And on that first night, you'll have a chance to check out the street food market, which is fun. The following day, day 4, highlight of the Battambang time is going out to the surrounding villages by tuk-tuk. And really, it's just really lovely. You get the chance to meet a lot of different farmers and producers and see all the different products that they're making to form their livelihood. Things like, but from banana chips and rice wine and fish paste and sticky rice and rice paper. In so many different things, and you do get to do some tastings along the way. So yeah, that's super fun. So there's also a chance to go to a social enterprise that day called Phare, which is Phare, sorry, Phare, started about 30 years ago from young people who were returning to Cambodia after being in refugee camps. And it's an arts and acrobatics, dance, music, education program and school. So there's a gallery there as well, and you get to learn a bit more about the programs that they're running, which is really amazing because later in the trip, we get to go to one of the performances in Siem Reap by this group. Another gorgeous social enterprise lunch on this day in a form of things like that. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. So day 5, it's bye-bye Battambang and on to Siem Reap. It's about a 3-hour drive. And then once you've checked in and at the hotel in the afternoon, it's out to the Tonle Sap Lake, which is the large freshwater lake I showed you on the Google Maps earlier. I mentioned before that this was a real highlight, and I really felt, that it is. It's just amazing being out on the boat, seeing people's lives, on the water. So, police stations, post office, schools, homes, everything kind of existing on the water. So yeah, it's really lovely. And to see the scale of the lake as well. That's pretty impressive. And then yes, if we stay out long enough, it'll be sunset as well, coming back into where the minivan will be. The next day is an early rise for sunset at Angkor Wat. It's super early, but it is worth it. It does get crazily busy there. But I still think it's worth going. You can still carve out a little spot where you can get photos and explore a bit without having too many people around. And of course, the temple complex is huge, and it's a really nice time to be walking around because it's after sunset. It's the coolest time to be doing that. And then back to the hotel for some chill out time, which is great. More, having a look at another temple in the afternoon, and then a really lovely NGO social enterprise dinner that evening, which is another highlight. The next day was something else that I really found great on the trip last year. We got to do a home cook with a chef in Siem Reap. So he met us at the local market, and this was a really kind of small market outside of Siem Reap. So in one of kind of the villages, skirts of the city. And he's got a beautiful home and a really well set up kitchen. And we got to learn how to cook Khmer food. But also, once the dishes were prepared and cooked, the chef, bundled up some of the food into little tins, like a tiffin, like, how I imagine the tiffin cases are in India, to take to the local Buddhist temple to give as an offering. So everyone on the group got to participate in that offering. And that was a really great experience. And I found out later that, whilst this guy does cooking classes and market tours a lot, it was the first time he'd ever taken. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully, maybe just someone just come off mute or put in the chat to see whether you can actually hear me and see me. I'm so
And
sorry.
now, yes, you keep freezing. I'm not sure why. You were saying about going to the monk.
Okay, so I probably finished before we did the giving alms ceremony at the Buddhist temple, and how Sophos, the chef, had said that whilst he does a lot of cooking classes with visitors, it was the first time he'd actually hosted a group to go and give alms and give a donation to the local temple, and he felt it was a great experience as well. So something that I think, is really great to include on the itinerary. Another highlight, another thing to look forward to is a visit to the Apopo Hero Rats Centre. And some of you might be familiar with the work of these rats. They're pretty incredible. They get, they're decent sized rats, and they get trained in Tanzania in TNT detection. So they're able to sniff out TNT, mines, bombs, I think up to a meter below ground. And because they don't weigh very much, they don't detonate the bomb when they're looking over the land. And then the bombs can be safely detonated without causing damage, because, as you might be aware, it's often, kids and farmers which are the victims when landmines do explode, because they're playing or they're farming. And yeah, it's really tragic when that happens. There was, an incident, I think not that long ago, where two little kids just outside of Siem Reap, in a village a long way outside of Siem Reap, in that same province, who unfortunately came across an unexploded ordnance, and they sadly lost their lives. And it's just really sad to think that, decades later, this is still a major issue for Cambodia. The rats are incredibly amazing, and they are also trained now to sniff out for TB, for tuberculosis as well. And if you are game, you do get to hold a rat as well. It's part of this like socialization. Visitors are allowed to hold the rats, and yeah, that was pretty cool. The final day in Siem Reap, there is another visit to two of the most well-known temples, Angkor Thom and Ta Prohm. And you might be aware of Ta Prohm, where Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider film with Angelina Jolie, that was filmed there, and it's just beautiful and jungly, and it's very different. And it's great to go there because there's a lot of shade as well, so you never feel hot at that temple. And in the evening, you will get to see this really amazing Khmer acrobatics performance by that far education arts program that I mentioned before. So the translation is called The Brightness of Arts, and improving the lives of young people through art, education, and music, and other kind of programs. So yeah, that's a beautiful way to finish off the trip in Cambodia. And then the final day, there's nothing planned, so you're free to, book your flights, or go on to Luang Prabang and join the Laos trip. so yeah, I flew through that and it was a lot of talking, so sorry about that. But if you have any questions, please call them out or pop them in the chat. There's so many amazing things, and it's funny when you talk about the itinerary, it doesn't really do it justice because you think, oh, how do I, get across how amazing it is? If you are on Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen I posted earlier this week about the guide that you will have on this trip, Dino. And he was the guide for the trip last year. And I've secured him again for the trip in October this year, which is really great news. For people who got to meet Dino last year, you'll remember, just how fantastic a guide he is. He's really a natural, and we're super lucky to be able to have him on the trip this year. I won't be going on the Cambodia trip this year, which is a bit, sad because I love Cambodia so much. But I'm so, so happy and feel so comforted, and just everything just, will run so smoothly because Dino is a complete professional and a super, super knowledgeable and fun guide. There are a couple of things to keep in mind too about traveling to Cambodia. One is that Australian passport holders do need a visa. So you can get those in advance online, or you can get a visa on arrival in the airport. Our group last year did a mixture of both. And to be honest, it's just personal preference. I mean, if you do get it on arrival, you need to have cash ready to hand over. So that's just something to keep in mind. And they've introduced a new e-arrival card as well, which you need to complete online 7 days before arrival. But if you do decide to come on the trip, don't worry. I will be emailing reminders and sending links and letting you know how to do all of those little things as well, so you don't get caught and don't forget to do anything. One of the things that I'm really kind of feel quite strongly about is trying to reduce the amount of plastic that we use on the trips. So I encourage everyone on Pip and Co travel trips to bring their own water bottle. We, on the Cambodia trip, we have a driver with a little minivan with us for, a fair chunk of the trip. So there'll be one of those big kind of water gallons on the van so that you can fill up your water bottle from that, which I think is great. A lot of the hotels and cafes also have water dispensers as well. So you can, really drastically reduce the amount of bottles that you need to buy, which I think is really, really great. And yeah, plenty of things you will find a little bit like, like there is still a lot of plastic bags used. But you can always carry your own reusable shopping bag, which you might be used to taking with you here. And I find that's really nice to have, so you can reduce the amount of plastic bags you need to use as well. And of course, I'm a big, believer, if there's time and you sit in and have your drink in the cafe. So you use, a China cup, so you don't have to use a plastic disposable takeaway cup for your coffee or whatever it is you're choosing to drink. So I have raced through all of that. If you have any questions at all, please jump in the chat or come off mute and let me know. Bridget said, sounds like an amazing trip with an amazing itinerary. Thank you. Helpful travel tips. Yeah, Cambodia's down list. I thought so, Bridge. Yeah, you would like it, I think. Of course, any time in the lead up to, the next few months when you're deciding whether, you might like to go on this trip, I'm always available on email or on phone, and you can chat to me with any questions you might have about the trip or booking flights or any other questions that you might have. I don't think I mentioned meals too much, other than, some of the really cool social enterprises that are on the itinerary. But in total, there's 8 breakfasts, 4 lunches and 4 dinners included. So each day, there's at least 1 meal included, with usually 1 meal for your, free to either find, go out as a group or do something simple near where you're staying, or whatever suits you, depending on your hunger and tired levels, and what you feel like eating as well. But Khmer food is really tasty, and not that many people know about it. I mean, it's not a cuisine that we really go out for a lot here. But yeah, really yummy. Low to moderate spice levels, lots of veggies as well, and salads, as well as soups and kind of more curry-based dishes. Plenty for pescatarians as well, lots of fish and seafood. So yeah, that's a real highlight too, something that is waiting to be discovered. If you don't have any questions, I will say thank you so much for being here, you amazing people. I really appreciate it. It was so lovely to see you all tonight. Even though I can't see your beautiful faces, I know you're there. I know you're there hiding behind your cameras. I really appreciate you being here. And if you are keen on joining the trip, just pop your name down on the booking system and get your deposit in, and you will have your spot saved. Like I said, there's only 12 women who can come on the trip. So hopefully definitely first in, best dressed for the trip. And yeah, I will talk to you all soon. Again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Penny. Sounds amazing.
Oh, thank you. That's Bridget. Thank you.
It is.
Thanks, Tracy. Trip sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Oh, thanks, Sue. Thank you. Thanks, Lois. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Sophie. Thanks, Marcia. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining.